Welcome to your August soul session. I am Princess India if you're new, and if you're family, welcome back, my friend. Much like I told everyone else, my computer and my camera are going wonky. So for some reason, like the logo for my streaming software keeps popping up, and I'm also lagging. So as you're watching me, my mouth is not aligning with my words. So I've tried a million different things to figure out what it is that's going on, reset my Wi-Fi, all the things, and it's still doing that. So I apologize, for this, you know what I'm saying? But just giving you guys a heads up. But anywho, we're going to jump into your cards. We're going to be looking at an overall energy as well as a challenge. And then we're going to get into a more specific spread for you all for the month of August. Go ahead and pick the cards for that. So your overall energy for the month of August, and I'm holding the cards up. I can't see whether or not they're clear because, I'm lagging. So I'm just going to hold them up, quick, so I'm not sitting here and you're staring at a card. But anyway, your overall energy for August is the Hermit in the reverse. That's Virgo energy. And this is challenged by judgment. That is interesting. So here is the thing, Pisces. So in the month of August, something I would give you guys a heads up on is to be intentional with your self-reflection, because with the Hermit reverse, I see that as like mindlessly seeking. You know what I'm saying? I've been talking a lot about therapy this month, but I'll give an example of this. Like therapeutically, it's kind of like if a person were to go to therapy, but you have no idea what your presenting problem is. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, I'm going to therapy just because like I feel like I should go to therapy, but you don't really have like a challenge that you're facing. So it kind of becomes like an a la carte situation because, as a therapist, if you don't feel like there's a problem, it's like we can't tell you that there's one. So, we could just teach you some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a mindless kind of pursuit. And whenever we're doing things like that, we end up kind of wasting valuable time because we don't have like a target that we're working towards. It can be the same thing with our own self-reflection. Like if you're, doing a deep dive, but you don't really know what you're deep diving on, like what you're actually trying to work on. So I feel with this overall energy, there's the potential to where you guys can kind of fall into the trap of even like putting out little fires, you know what I mean? Like putting out proverbial little fires, which are like secondary challenges. So looking at, all of these little random things that are going on. I don't know why all of this stuff is coming to me. It's kind of like you're not in a good place, right? But your attempt to solve your problems is like trying to solve someone else's. You know what I mean? So I'll stick with the therapy example. It's kind of like if you come into therapy and you're like, I'm not really sure what's going on with me, but, my sister, has XYZ going on. And I don't understand like why she gets in the relationships that she's in. And like, oh, like my best friend, like she has issues like with her dad. And like, I feel like that really affects her. You know what I mean? So it's like dealing with all of that stuff, but never really coming to what's going on with you. And it's the like this perception. And I know that's like a kooky example, but it's like this perception of if I solve the issues of everyone outside of me that are affecting me, it's like, my best friend's issues with her dad, my sister's issues with her relationships. If I can get them into a good place, then they won't come to me with their issues and then I'll be fine, right? But it's not addressing the fact that you have poor boundaries, right? Which is the reason why your sister's problems and your best friend problems are becoming your problems, because you're not establishing a healthy boundary to say like, okay, I'm not going to answer the phone at 3:00 in the morning when you're snot crying. Every time something goes wrong with your relationship, I'm not going to, stop everything I'm doing to go pick you up and let you stay at my house. You know what I mean? So with that, the theme with all of the signs so far, there is this element of there being a root issue and how one is either avoiding that root issue or like kind of taking detours or distracting themselves with other things to not focus on that. So I feel kind of like the heads up for Pisces in the month of August is really to be intentional with any type of self-reflection or work that you're doing. It's like really to get down to the nitty-gritty, right? Now, with this particular challenge being the Judgment, which is the same, it's not the same exact card, but it's the same energy signature for the entire collective is, and I'm not sure what's going on. Me and my staff are literally, like my staff right now, like they're doing research and stuff like that, because it's just too many, synchronicities that we're seeing, like with messaging from the soul sessions to the weekly to, like our astrologer, like stuff that she's seeing. It's a lot of stuff going on. But the collective thing I'm seeing is everyone is kind of being brought to not necessarily like a crossroads per se, but it's almost like an threshold, like an elevation point for everyone to like break out of some sort of cycle. And it's the same with Pisces. Like you're being called to like align with your true path, your true self, what have you. However, with this being in a challenge position and taking into account your overall energy, it's more or less like August would be, I was about to say October. Maybe October is relevant, but anyway, but with August, it's like a preparation phase, if I could say it that way. And that's something that I'm seeing for all signs. It's like it's everyone coming to like the middle of the road, like a balanced place, and not being on one side of the Likert scale or the other. In so many words, it's like self-empowering in a sense. And I feel like for Pisces, I like the thing I just heard is like, don't miss the boat. But with that, it's giving me this whole vibe. I mean, literally of what the Judgment card depicts, which is like the rapture. You know what I'm saying? But like metaphorically, not saying like the rapture is going to happen, but like in a metaphorical sense, which makes me think, I don't know where all these Bible stories are coming from this month, but it makes me think of like the maidens and like the lamps and like the bridegroom coming and like making sure that you're, prepared in so many words. So what it is that we're feeling collectively, it's like there's some energetic shift that is about to transpire that is going to affect the entire collective. And what all of the soul sessions for August are saying up to this point is more or less like, get ready. You feel what I'm saying? It's like it's pointing out the thing that can act as a deterrent from everyone being on their path. And I'm seeing the same with you guys with your overall energy. And specifically what it is for Pisces, it's not being intentional about what it is that the problem is. It's kind of being easily distracted by secondary side stuff. And I mean, this could be intentional or non-intentional, because for your fellow water sign Cancer, what I saw for them is they were intentionally avoiding the thing because they didn't want to address it, because it was very like mucky kind of territory, which is understandable. But it's like this one particular thing that they didn't want to face is the same thing that's kind of keeping them imprisoned in a pattern that always has them on the losing end of things, right? And I feel with Pisces, it's doing your due diligence, but it's like there's no end goal. So it's kind of like being a spiritual person, right? And burning candles, playing with tarot cards, meditating, doing yoga, becoming vegan, drinking tea. It's like doing all of that stuff, but not keeping in mind that the whole purpose of a spiritual lifestyle is the ultimate end goal of spiritual enlightenment, right? So it's doing all of the stuff that comes with the lifestyle, but not doing any of the work targeted to enlightenment, but expecting that to happen somehow, or being spiritual and or even religious even, and not applying the spiritual wisdom or principles of your belief system to your life. It's like not applying it to yourself when you're facing challenges or you're making decisions every day, you're not incorporating your belief system into your lifestyle in the sense of spiritual principles. You know what I'm saying? So there's not really a true transformation that's taking place, right? So it's like doing all of these things, but it not being attached to like a purpose. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you meditate every day, what are you doing that for? You know what I'm saying? It's like you're sitting there in silence for what reason? It's like what is that doing for you? And do you know what the purpose of it is? You know what I'm saying? And in the event that you don't know, the purpose of meditating is observation. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you come to that place when you've been meditating for a long time, and they talk about like with your thoughts jetting in and all that stuff and gaining control over that. The purpose of that is to become the ultimate observer, right? That of which is, the perception in some spiritual disciplines of what many believe that spirit is. That spirit is just the ultimate observer. It's like spirit, your ancestors are looking through your eyes, you know what I'm saying, and observing things through you. And the purpose of meditation is to align with mindfulness, right? Which is a state of being, right? Being in mindfulness to where you are now the ever present observer in your life. So you're making observations of what's happening. You can describe those observations, but there's not any judgment, pun intended, hashtag challenge, right? But there's no judgment that's being made. You're just observing what's happening, right? The problem when you first start meditating is that you're making judgments constantly. It's like, your mind trails off and then you judge yourself for your mind trailing off, and then you start judging the fact that you can't just sit there, and then it's like your mind's going all over, but it's just judgment, judgment, judgment. You feel what I'm saying? But if you're enacting in something and you don't know why, it ends up oh my gosh, and my computer did the thing. Of course my computer does the thing. Hold on, Pisces. We were doing so well. Donate to my GoFundMe. Hold on, Pisces. Let me try to fix this. Okay, Pisces, I'm sorry about that. We should be used to that by now. That is why I am trying to get a new laptop. Please forgive me. It is a shit show over here. But anyway, moving right along, like I was saying. So it's imperative to be mindful of like misguided intentions. The thing I can say with this as well, Pisces, because I know, we all be doing it. I got a lot of 12th house placements. Like all of my 4 Taurus placements are all in the 12th house. You know what I'm saying? So I get the Pisces vibes. I love Pisces. Y'all are my favorite people. But there is a thing with avoidance. You know what I'm saying? It's a Pisces 12th house kind of thing. You know what I mean? And another thing I can see with this hermit is, like kind of sequestering yourself away. And again, with that intentionality, it's not necessarily having a purpose for it. It's like just a coping thing of like isolating yourself to deal, with stuff. However, that lack of intentionality is you're isolating yourself, but you're not actually dealing with it. And I find a lot of times people can kind of use that as like, because I mean, I'm an introvert myself, but it's like the thought of there's a difference between solitude and isolation. That's something I've said many times on this channel is, with solitude, it is an intentional isolation, right? That's hermit upright. It's like, I'm going into my prayer closet, or I'm going within, for a particular reason, or, I'm leaving the party to go home to recharge my batteries, right? But it's like the next day I'm restored and moving forward. You know what I mean? Whereas with isolation, that's an unintentional parting of ways. You know what I mean? So there's no end goal in sight. You can say it's recharging the batteries, but it's going on for an extended period. You know what I mean? And I feel the biggest challenge in reference to that perception of the hermit is like coming out of that and seeing that as a particular crutch, because that's something I've touched on before, because I'm actually working on a piece about this, about how, empaths and introverts and woo-woo people, how a lot of times we're not seeing that we utilize characteristics or traits that come along, with gifts and all those other kind of things, how we kind of use that as a crutch, and how this ends up becoming a crutch that we're using to continuously perpetuate bad behavior. You know what I mean? Where, we're saying it's like, oh my gosh, the energies and the vibes and like other people are just like so overwhelming for me. But it's like, if you're an empath and you're called to help people, it's like, and that's, something we talk about on my network a lot. And by the way, my Mercury retrograde survival guide course is up on the network. It's free. Forgot to tell everybody that, but anyway. But it's like something we talk about on my network all the time is like empath empowerment and like all of these quirks and things that come with like being empathic. These are not things that are supposed to be like debilitating things. Like they're things you're supposed to grow and become stronger and have dominion over. You know what I mean? Because most of us are called to help other people. And if you're so completely overwhelmed with other people's energy, that means that you don't have control over your own energy, which puts you at a disadvantage to the world, which means how could you ever accomplish what you're called to do if you can't handle being around people? You know what I'm saying? Which is not what the ultimate goal is. But that's a little side note in reference to that. Now, getting into your more specific spread, your central energy that's representing you all for the month of August, we have the 9 of Pentacles. Your past influence is the 3 of Cuppies. That's interesting. Your hidden influence, who had this? Was it Cancer? The 2 of Swords in the reverse. Your potential outcome. Dang, I think Cancer had this too. The 9, but in a different position. The 9 of Swords in the reverse and what to look out for moving forward. Interesting. We have the Empress in the reverse, and that is Venetian energies. So Taurus as well as Libra energy. Interesting. Child, that's shadow aspected Taurus and Libra energy. But anywho, what it is looking like, Cancer, did I say Cancer? I'm sorry, Pisces. What it's looking like, Pisces, with your past influence coming out of the latter part of July. That's funny. Of July into August, that makes me think about what I was just saying. Fraternizing and gallivanting and potentially, being like, oh my gosh, my social battery has died. Like I have fraternized, I have gallivanted, I have gone to the wedding. I have done the things that is enough of that. When we come back to our central energy, let's get back to work and focusing on the self. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the vibe that I get with this. And it's funny because I feel it's more or less like you feel like, oh, okay, I connected, but I feel like that connection with other people. So for some of you, like I was saying, this very well could be you literally went to a wedding or, hung out with your friends. And it's kind of feeling like, okay, that's enough. Like, I went out for their birthday. Like I did this, like that's enough. I'm going back to focus on things that are important. And I kind of feel like that's the narrative that I can't say all Pisces, but the Pisces that would resonate with this, I feel like that's kind of the narrative that you tell yourself. So it's like you'll sequester yourself away from everyone, not really talk to people, and say I'm focusing on things or whatever, school, work, whatever the case, right? But it's like you'll go out, you fraternize with people a little bit to say like, oh, I'm going outside, I'm peopling or whatever. But then it's like that's too much, enough of that, and it's going back to work on whatever and being consumed by it. The vibe I'm picking up with this is like a workaholic kind of vibe. You know what I mean? But the underlying thing I feel with this is that it's a distraction, right? Because going back to this Hermit in the reverse being the overall energy, it's a lack thereof of intentionality with things. It's like when you're going out to do stuff, right? It's like not being fully invested in it. It's kind of like it being a chore or an expectation or like a should, ought, or supposed to. Like, I've been inside for 2 months. It's like, I have to go to this wedding. I can't not go. Or I have to go to this birthday party. I can't not go. oh yeah, it was fun, right? But while you're there, your mind is kind of on what you'd rather be doing or the thing that you have to do next. So going back to what we were saying with mindfulness, you're not really present in that particular moment. And I don't know, it's like what I'm being shown is weird. It's almost like a magnet I'm being shown, to where even when you're stepping out and you're doing stuff, it's like a magnetic energy that's pulling you back to what it is that you were doing before. You know what I mean? So I'll just use an example. Like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know why I'm seeing this. I don't even know if anyone really does this, but like, and I've seen this only on television, like people who build like ships in a bottle. This is so weird. Like people who build ships in a bottle, like, you've seen people on TV that are with the tweezers and they're building like a ship in a glass bottle, right? It's like a person who's doing that, right? And it's like, I don't know, it's your sister's wedding. And it's like, you really don't want to stop building the ship, but you're like, ugh, I have to go to this. So you're at the wedding, but the entire time it's like you're thinking about what you have left to build the ship. And it's like as soon as the wedding is over, you're like speeding home to instantly go back, building the ship in the bottle type of thing. Because I feel whatever it is that you guys are doing, it's something very intricate, you know what I'm saying? But it's almost like, I don't know, it's like a logical explanation that you have for what it is that you're doing. But this underlying influence I'm feeling is that there's not any soul to it, which goes back to the hermit and the reverse of this lack of intentionality. So simply put, this is something you're utilizing as a distraction in so many words. You know what I mean? And even on the flip side of this, looking at this 3 of Cups, it's like, and I see this sometimes where people are like very fixated on something. And it's like when you go out, like you'll completely wall out because there's not a balance of like play in your life. So whenever you go out, you end up like overindulging, like you're out way too late or you drink way too much. And it's because you don't really allow yourself to fraternize and gallivant. You know what I mean? So that ends up becoming another thing because since you overdo it, you're like, see, this is why I shouldn't go out, because now I'm tired for this. And it's like I drank too much and now I'm nursing a hangover the next day. And like, this is why it is that I don't go out and why it is that I should stay focused on building my ship in a bottle. You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a repeated cycle, but with both things, the underlying influence is still, there's not like soul in it. But I feel it's Pisces, the Pisces who would resonate with this, you're in a place to where you're not necessarily ready to accept that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's almost like you've rationalized yourself into this place and you have like very valid reasons for approaching things the way that you do. You know what I'm saying? But with your hidden influence being this 2 of Swords in the reverse, that's letting me know that, I mean, this is coming into your realm of reality. Like it's coming into your consciousness in the month of August. What I'm saying, like, this isn't going to be, I mean, when you listen to this is not going to be new information. You know what I'm saying? This could be something that's been kind of, coming up in your dreams, kind of popping up into your awareness and kind of pushing it down. But I feel like you listening to this would be like the confirmation for something that's coming up for you presently. So whether it's work, it's, your friends' problems, it's your kids, you know what I'm saying, or being completely engulfed in a hobby, I feel this is something that's being utilized by Pisces to not deal with what the true root issue is. You know what I'm saying? But it's almost like you're telling yourself that you are. You know what I mean? Going back to the example I was saying of like meditating, it's like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I'm totally dealing with XYZ because I'm meditating every day. I'm burning my candles. I'm playing with my tarot cards, right? But there's no intentionality with it. It's like, it's almost like ritual. Like what people talk about, with, religion and stuff like that, of when people lose sight of the reasons for a ritual and you're just going through the motions of it, it's like you're edging God out of it. It's like the whole purpose for what the ritual is for is a particular thing. But if you're just going through the motions of it, it's literally lost all purpose. You know what I'm saying? And it ends up becoming like a bondage to you. It's just, checking off a list in so many words. And there's some element of that. And I hope and pray this is making sense. There's some element of this that's showing up in Pisces life. However, the reason why you're doing this is to avoid, right, what's coming up in this Two of Swords. You know what I mean? So it's like a self-protection mechanism. So it very well could be, and this is kind of, I don't know if you guys have Libra in your chart, but this is kind of reminiscent of what Libra's reading was kind of touching on, and a little bit of what Cancer's was touching on as well. And I always say, whether you have it in your chart or not, I mean, it wouldn't kill you because it gives you like another perspective to watch it. But it's, and I say this a lot, it's kind of what I'm seeing is like putting whipped cream on shit. You know what I'm saying? It's covering up the problem, but not really dealing with it. But this particular problem, it's arising. And I've been saying like coming home to roost, but that's not a negative thing. It's the suppression of this is what's preventing you from moving forward. And I feel whatever method, and I see this throughout the collective, whatever method everyone has been using to kind of, skirt past this, it's like it's coming up because it's like, hey, this isn't working anymore. And we actually need to deal with this now. Like you've had like a free period. And it makes me think about like student loans, like how with, Rona and all of that many of us got like a break paying our student loans and stuff, right? But now it's like, nope, you got to start paying them again, right? So you had a nice little break like during that time to not have to pay back on them, but now it's like you got to start paying back now. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting with this. So it's not necessarily saying I don't see this in a way that this is going to be like stripped away from Pisces. Like if you compulsively overwork, I don't see this panning out like Pisces is going to lose their job. So you're like, I don't see that. I really feel that this is going to be a self-initiated type of thing. And I'm seeing that for everyone, where it's more or less, this is coming into your awareness. You realize it and you have the choice whether or not to deal with it. So you can choose to not deal with it, or you can choose to deal with it. But where it goes back to what I was saying with judgment of the whole missing the boat thing, it's like you cannot, pass go and collect $200. You know what I mean? Which goes back to like that story that I was saying, like with the maidens. It's like if you don't have the oil for your lamp and the bridegroom is coming and you go try to run and buy oil for your lamp, by the time that you come back, the bridegroom is going to have came and gone and you've missed the train. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting with this, right? Now, with the potential outcome being the Nine of Swords in the reverse, I feel that can go one or two ways, and it's all contingent upon how it is that you choose to navigate that this month, right? It's like if you choose to confront whatever this is head on, you know what I mean, and solve the primary problem as opposed to continuously trying to solve the secondary problems. Like I said, with the person who goes to therapy and wants to talk about everybody else but themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like the problem is that you don't have no boundaries, but you're trying to, get your sister and your best friend to get their lives in order so they don't come to you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you don't choose to deal with the primary problem, right? It's like with this Nine of Swords in the reverse, I feel like the unease, or even if you guys are having lots of dreams, because I've been hearing that from a lot of people, that they've been having cuckoo bananas dreams to where they feel like they haven't even slept. You know what I'm saying? Because the dreams are so intense. I feel like that's gonna, continue to get progressively worse in a sense, but you're still going to stay stuck. It's like you're not going to be able to move forward or level up. It's like you're going to stay in the same energy. Whereas on the other side, if you choose to confront whatever this thing is, or, decision that you've been avoiding, or, emotion or unforgiveness that you have, or something that disappointed you past tense that you're not wanting to face, it's like if you do face that, then it's this energy starting to fade out, right? So it's like coming out of this energy that you feel that you have to avoid, because that's really what we're talking about here. if we were to say a person who's compulsively overworking, the reason why you're compulsively overworking or drinking or whatever is because you're trying to avoid the emotion that you don't want to face. You feel what I'm saying? This 9 of Swords. But if you face it, then you don't have to avoid it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel facing it is a lot easier than avoiding it because it's so much work that has to be put into avoiding. And much like I said to Cancer, it progressively makes things worse over time. So if, you're depressed and you're drinking because you're depressed and not dealing with the fact that you're depressed, it's like you're nursing and, feeding into a potential drinking problem, which is a whole nother set of problems that you don't need. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to go get sober, and the whole thing that you were depressed about is still there. You know what I'm saying? The issue and the problem is still very much present. That's still not solved. I just saw something really creepy in my camera. I don't know what that was, child, but we just gonna ignore that and we gonna keep going. Anyway, moving right along. But looking at what to look out for moving forward, and this is what I feel is extremely important, is this Empress in the reverse. And I feel this is more projected. I don't see this just like, in like September. It's like I see this for the foreseeable future. And I would really stress Pisces to watch Cancer because I talked about this in depth with them, but it was more in alignment of like a generational curse type of deal with them. But with you guys, I'm seeing this as like how I said that, like drinking, that could become a problem later on. With suppressing whatever this is and not addressing it, this can end up becoming an issue and a problem for you later on, to where you end up kind of distorting yourself into a person you don't want to be. And I feel right now, the method that you're using to kind of get through, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like that could be the outcome or the problem. You know what I'm saying? I'm hearing like I can stop at any time. So for some of you, this literally could be addiction for some of you. But it doesn't seem like it could turn out that way. But this is kind of like a forewarning that it could, you know what I mean? To where financially you could end up being upset. You could end up alone. You could end up not having anyone. And I'm not saying that in just like a romantical type of sense. I mean, in the context of like friendships, because if it's like you're constantly, isolating yourself from friends and, canceling plans on people, not answering phone calls, you know what I'm saying? And I literally had a client tell me this earlier where she was like, if you invite a friend to hang out with, like every time you invite them to hang out with you, they always have an excuse about why they can't. It's like eventually you come to a place like, this person clearly doesn't want to hang out with me, because it's like if the shoe was on the other foot and I kept, saying, oh, I can't to a person, then that's because I don't want to hang out with you. And I'm just waiting for you to get, the picture that I don't want to hang out with you. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that like, a couple of times, but like progressively over like months, you know what I'm saying? So it's like eventually people are going to stop reaching out because it's the thought of like, you don't want to be around me. You know what I mean? But I feel how Pisces is coping with this. You're seeing it like from a short-sighted perspective, because it's almost like living moment to moment and thinking about, in this particular moment, I want to go build, my ship. I don't want to go through the whole, hoo-ha of putting on makeup and getting dressed and being around people and all these things. It's like all of this stuff that's being rationalized, but I don't feel that Pisces is projecting into the future how this present behavior can lead to specific outcomes. And I feel this Empress in the reverse is like a distant outcome you wouldn't want. And that's just me speaking in an external sense. When we start speaking in an internal sense, this can be, loneliness embittered. You know what I'm saying? Like being vindictive or vengeful, or resorting to like emotional manipulation tactics in order to get needs met, because you feel like you can't be direct with people in order to get needs met, and being overly self-protective. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that this is kind of a forewarning and giving you a glimpse of this temporary solution to said discomfort or problem, how this could end up growing into something bigger. And I wholeheartedly don't think that what I can see this growing into, I don't feel, I don't, like I say, I know and love a lot of Pisces. I have 3 Pisces besties. My mother is a Pisces. I stewed in a Piscean womb. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that, like, knowing you guys' character, what it is I'm seeing, and I'm keeping it kind of light, but what I'm seeing in this Empress and the reverse, knowing the character of a Pisces, this is not, you know, uh, a vibe you guys would want to fraternize in for your foreseeable future, because I see this as the complete antithesis of inherently what a Pisces is. You know what I'm saying? But it's the thought of, it's like planting seeds, proverbially speaking, hashtag 9 of Pentacles. It's like planting seeds, and this isn't a harvest you would want to reap from those seeds. So I see this reading kind of as like a wake up call that's saying, hey, let's be mindful of the seeds that we're planting. And is this a harvest we would really want to reap? And I don't feel it's a harvest that you guys would want to reap. And it's a harvest that you don't even really need to sow in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Because the whole reason why you're sowing these particular seeds is to avoid dealing with whatever this thing is. And from my, objective perspective, I feel dealing with it is going to be a hell of a lot easier than trying to sidestep it, because I don't feel that there's any winning in the sidestep, if that's making sense. So it's more or less a wake up call to be more clear and intentional with what you're doing, because it just looks to me that you've been doing this for so long, you've kind of deluded yourself into like rationalizing that this path is in your best interest, and I don't really feel that it is. So this is kind of a message for Pisces to, like, save yourself from yourself, in a sense. I hope and pray that that's making sense. You know what I'm saying? But I can let you guys know the way that these soul sessions have been coming out, I'm 9 times out of 10 going to be writing something about all of this, because it's just all the messages I've been getting. They've just been very intriguing. And usually when that happens, just to make all of this make sense in my mind, I end up just like writing about it. So keep your eyes on the community tab, because I'm probably going to post, one of my little think pieces in reference to all of this, because there's clearly like an overall collective message that's coming out, which is why, like I said, my staff is like feverishly looking like what is happening in the sky, because there's some big shift that's happening. And the fact that there's a core message that's very much aligned with all of the signs of, like, it's all about everyone's hidden influence. Like there's something that's going on underneath it all that needs to be confronted in order for everyone to move forward. And this particular thing is the thing that is like holding everyone back from where it is that you're wanting to be. But it's some level of like personal accountability with this, where it's not spirit saving us from ourselves. It's like we have the tools and the resources to be able to vindicate ourselves. And it's more or less up to us to make that shift or that change, if that's making sense. And I hope and pray that it is, Pisces. If it's not, let me know in the comments. People be doing that anyway. But anyway, I love your freaking face, Pisces. Let me know what you think in the comments. I am sorry about my lagging stuff. Things will get better. Donate to my GoFundMe. Love my face, please. You know what I'm saying? But I will see you guys sooner than later.